I had come from the studio doing the show last night to watch the debate, and I had just wrapped up an interview with the former CIA agent Claire Lopez. She laid out the case on Libya. The president, the administration, and the State Department, the intelligence community, and the Pentagon all had watched a live feed from Libya as the assault in Benghazi happened in real time. They watched it on something called television screens via something called a drone with a camera. I know it's all very foreign to us. And what she said last night, all Americans should hear. Somebody in this administration saw what was going on, and somebody said, stop, don't help them. No, you can't go in, right?
That's what it looks like.
Did people in this administration watch our people die live and do nothing?
In effect, that's what it looks like happened. I'm sure nobody wanted him or anyone else to die there, and they might not have actually known the circumstances inside the buildings that they were actually dying. But all the same, was it protection of that operation? It was going to come out one way or another eventually anyway.
Who knows about this? How far does it go? Clapper know about this?
Has to.
Hillary Clinton know about this?
Must.
Barack Obama?
Has to.
Okay. Petraeus?
Must. He absolutely must.
But here's what the timeline is. At 2:54 p.m. Eastern, one of the U.S. officials was killed in the incident, and he was giving an online reporting or a warning shortly before the attack, and he said, we're in trouble. Now this is 12:54 our time. That's the first warning. The attack began about 4 o'clock our time. Now that's 10 o'clock Libyan time. Our diplomats fought for 7 hours without any aid from the outside. At 4 o'clock, the attack begins. But at 12:54, we knew. At 5 p.m., Obama meets with Biden and the new chief of the Pentagon. Now, let me just look at this here. So what happened between 1 o'clock and 5 p.m.? Well, a lot. We sent up drones to make sure we could see everything. So we were watching this. The U.S. military base in Sicily is 480 miles away from Benghazi. Stationed there, special ops forces, transport aircraft, attack aircraft. We could have easily scrambled air support within an hour. Commandos inside of 3 hours. But the decision was made not to dispatch anyone. They did nothing. Stevens died at 8 p.m. We knew at 1. We were watching by 3. The attack at 4. At 8, the ambassador dies. That's 4 hours after the fighting began. 2 of the others died at 10 p.m. 6 hours after the fighting began. 8 hours since we knew. Instead of sending help, Washington chose to watch these men die unimaginable deaths. The last thing these patriots saw were the face of evil. They were trapped and outnumbered and probably wondering, where is backup? Without any help, it was only a matter of time. Why did we not send anyone? The president knew at 5 p.m. The president then went to bed. He curled up, safe and warm in his cozy little bed, and fell asleep. He had to be rested for his big fundraiser in Las Vegas the next day, and he had something to do in the Rose Garden, too. He'd have to make some announcement about a video. But he knew that it wasn't anything about a video. He knew. They watched it happen in real time. Who made the decision to not send in help, and why? When they made that decision, It had to be just like every spy movie we've ever seen. Have you ever seen a spy movie like Born Identity or thing? And they're all watching. They're all watching in the Situation Room. And something's going wrong. And then somebody says, no, don't save them. And everybody in the room looks. And everybody knows, uh-oh, I think that's the villain. You know who the villains are. Everyone in the room looks at each other and says, I'm on the wrong side. It's that moment in those movies we've seen. It happened at the Pentagon, it happened at the State Department, and it happened at the White House. But here's something about the bad guys in the movies. And I believe it's true in real life as well, although it doesn't happen in usually 90 minutes and wrapped up with a pretty little bow. The bad guys are always discovered. And they always lose. But there has to be somebody who's fighting for good. In the scenario that we have at the Pentagon, at the State Department, in the administration, where's the good guy here? Who's the good guy in that scenario? You see, part of the problem is we do have a hero somewhere. But how are we ever going to find them? The hero used to be able to say, if I could just get this information to the press. The press has this information. So do you and so do I. Why is it that we are standing in Texas, of all places, and we're breaking all of this news? We were the first to break the news that something was wrong, ask what the guy was doing there. What was he doing in Benghazi? It's not right. They're running guns. It took the rest of the media 2 weeks to pick up on parts of that. And now they're not. We have some guests in the back half of the show who's, we're not going to let this go. This is stunning. This changes everything, the entire debate. Retired Brigadier General Tony Tata, he is the author of Hidden Threat. Also with us, Buck Sexton, Real News co-host and former CIA officer. I wanted to get you guys in on this. First of all, General and Buck, you both have, been in and around the Situation Room or situation-like rooms. And when things like this are going down, and we first get the call at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, at 4 o'clock the threat goes. They had already put a drone up in the air. Did everybody see this? Do you agree with Claire that everybody had to have seen what was going on?
Oh, Glenn, I'm sure everybody was watching it live. If you have that much advance warning, there's rapid reaction forces on the ground that you can use. But the real question in my mind is, there were indicators in June and July and August that something was going to go down. There was an improvised explosive device thrown over the fence of the consulate in Benghazi in June. The British ambassador, his convoy was attacked in June of this year. The Red Cross was attacked in August in Benghazi. So the real question is, who knew what when, and was there a request for forces made? And did Obama's no boots on the ground blanket statement stifle a request for forces that may have been made earlier? And I think that's the real question that needs to be asked here is, did someone request forces in June, July, or August because of these threats? Well, did someone deny it? And if so, why?
This is kind of where I want to go here. And let me get Buck just to answer the question that I just get. Is there any doubt in your mind that everybody was watching this in real time as it was going down?
A lot of senior officials would have been seeing this, I would assume, and they can relay the feedback very easily to any base anywhere in the world if they so choose, anybody who has the clearance and the need to know for that kind of a thing. But Glenn, from the very beginning of this, as soon as I read the initial press accounts, all I could think was, where is the quick reaction force here? Where is the QRF? mean, this is standard operating procedure in conflict, in theaters of conflict, you know, in Iraq and Afghanistan, that if you have an element like an ambassador in any place, there has to be a secondary force out there that can come to their rescue. That wasn't here. I mean, that's just negligence.
No, it was. It was, and we had planes on standby in Sicily. Now, the question is, does somebody have to give the order to not go in? I mean, if everybody's watching it, I know Americans in our military, everybody is like, we've got the forces, let's go in. We can save them, we can help them. They're watching this go on for 7 hours. We have the ability. Who said no? Anybody?
Well, I don't know who said I don't know who said no, but what I do know is that the person who was supposed to say yes, whether or not that was the president or Secretary Clinton, or on down the chain to the AFRICOM commander, all the way down to getting the forward, the anti-terrorism team from the Marines on the ground that actually got there the next day. They should have been there while the fighting was going on. They could have been there. They could have been helicoptered in. There was a quick reaction force just down the road that got there within a few hours, but it was too late. And so there was no coherent command and control structure on the ground.
All right, so when I come back, I want to ask you, have you ever seen anything like this where we've just let people die? I mean, we went to Libya because we have, quote, a responsibility to protect, but we just let them die. And also the other question is, where is anyone in the intelligence community or the military that may have seen this, or the State Department, that saw this and said, this is not the way we do business? Why is no one stepping forward? We'll go to those questions next. So, Buck, I want to start with you. Have you ever seen it before? We only have 2 minutes for both of you to answer. Have you ever seen anything like this before? And where is anyone from any of these communities? Why are they not standing up?
Glenn, I've never seen anything like this, and I think it's really key that viewers at home understand that the facility was overrun. This wasn't somebody driving a car bomb up to the gate and then trying to get out of there, or even a suicide attack. The facility was overrun, and afterwards, after obviously we had gotten personnel out of the consulate, then the attackers would have had their way with whatever sensitive materials were in the facility, and they had control of it for days afterwards. We couldn't even get an FBI team on the ground there for a month. Unheard of. I've never heard of anything like this before.
So why are they not standing up?
Well, you know, Glenn, this administration doesn't like people talking out of turn. This administration has made it very clear to people in the national security community and the intelligence community that if you say anything to anybody and we don't like it, we're coming after you.
General,
but not senior people. Sorry, Glenn.
Somebody has said to me that very thing today, and I said, you are willing to pick up a gun and willing to die for the Constitution, but you're not willing to go to jail to stop something like this? That doesn't make sense to me.
Well, you know, Glenn, when I was a commander in the 101st Airborne, I was in Skopje, Macedonia, when we had this very same type of incident happen. I put a platoon, 30 airborne paratroopers in there to secure it, called in the Marine Fleet security team, and they did their job. Nobody was injured. And what I really contrast this with, when Osama bin Laden was killed, you had the president on TV within 24 to 48 hours, high-fiving, chest bumping, and now we've got this failure. You know, every victory has 1,000 fathers, and a failure is an orphan. We really owe it to the American people, to get back to your earlier theme of truth and great Americans. We lost 4 great Americans that night in Benghazi, and so we owe it to the American people to figure out what happened here and pull this thing back and ask the hard questions. And my question is, where are the senators and congressmen with military bases in their districts that are, where's their outrage?
General, thank you very much. We are continuing to follow this from Dallas. Good night.